kind of hard coming up here and talking to everybody because I really want to cry, but my journey through this has been really hard, but having faith in God, you should never doubt God, because right now I'm telling my story and I hope it helps you get even more close to God. Well, one day I was just having a real bad cough, a real heavy and dry cough, and my back was hurting. So my mom's like, that doesn't sound good, I don't like the sound of that. So we went to the doctor and they gave me x-rays, and at first they didn't tell me, they just told my parents. And from that time, we just went home and everybody was just panicking, and it was just like, what's happening? And my aunt, the one that told me, my dad's sister, she called me crying, saying everything's gonna be okay, you have to be strong through this. And I'm just like, what's going on? I don't even know what's going on. And then she goes, just have faith and just be strong, and you have to be strong, you can't let this get to you. And I'm just like, I don't even know what's going on, I don't know what the doctors told my parents, I don't know anything. So my dad came inside the room, inside the house, and he told me, well, you have to be strong. And I'm just like, what's happening? And he's like, the doctor said you have a tumor covering your whole entire main organs, and it's pressing on your lungs and your heart. And the doctor said that she doesn't even know how you're breathing right now. And so they told us to go to LA to the Kaiser hospital. So when we got there, they just started doing tests, and that's when I finally found out I had lymphoma cancer. And I actually don't know where it's at, but it gives me a lot of tumors everywhere. So the first thing they had to do is do radiation, because my tumor was too big to even do surgery yet to see if it was cancerous or not. So they did radiation and had a week of radiation. And then one of my mom's friends, Flo, I think you guys know her, she told my aunt, that she had a dream that my tumor was just gonna inflate like a balloon. That it was just gonna go down, like if you pop a balloon, it's just gonna go away. So the last day of my radiation, the doctors came out, and this is the exact words he told my mom. I don't know what's happening, but her tumor just inflated like a balloon. Exactly how Thru told my aunt how her dream was. So my tumor was finally small enough to do a biopsy, and everything was burnt around it. And once they did the biopsy, they told me everything, that I have lymphoma cancer, I'm gonna have to be going through this and this. And I was just like, okay. At first, I couldn't even suck it in and like explain how I was feeling, but I was really scared, because the first thing you do think about of having cancer is that you're not going to make it through the night. So all that happened, and I finally transferred to Madera because of the grapevine. Now I won't miss any of my chemo treatments. And I went through chemo, I've been through surgeries and bone marrow transplant, blood transfusions. So one day I had that real bad cough again, and my back started hurting again. So we did the same exact thing, and they told my parents that I got liquid inside of my left lung and that I'm only breathing with my right. So they told us to go to the hospital real fast, and that same day. So we went and we stood there just waiting to see what they were going to do. And a couple of days later, they told me that they were going to try to get the liquid out. So the day of my surgery, they took me to the room and I fell asleep. And then I don't remember anything after that, but just what my parents told me that when I got out, I was in real bad conditions, because when they were trying to take out all the liquid, I started bleeding, and I wouldn't stop bleeding. And I lost a lot of blood, and they lost me on the operating table. But they were able to bring me back. And I had tubes everywhere, breathing tubes up my nose, nothing could feed me. And I was in a real critical phase. And they told my parents, I'm on life support. It's gonna be amazing if I even make it to 12 hours of breathing. And my dad was the one, they told my dad, and then my dad went into my room first to see how I was doing. And he came out and he told my mom, you can't cry, you have to stay strong because she's in a real critical phase and she has tubes everywhere. So my mom went into my room, and the first thing she did was started reading the Bible. She turned on worship music and she started singing to me. And she told me that she grabbed onto my hand and she knew I was going to be okay because when she was holding my hand, I squeezed onto her hand, even though I was in all those tubes and not knowing what was going on. And the next, she asked my aunt Daisy, who works there at the Children's Hospital, she goes, is she gonna be okay? And then my Aunt Daisy said, she's breathing a little bit on her own, but that's a good sign. So they told my parents to call all my family members because they didn't know if I was gonna make it through the night. So everybody came, everybody started praying for me. Everybody just stood there with me. And then each day, I made that day through 24 hours. And the doctors were amazed, and I was just, when they told me this, it's just like, how can it not be God who kept me alive? He kept me alive for a reason. He kept me alive for a reason. And I know He kept me in this life because He wants me to do something big in my life. So each day I got better and better and better, and then I finally got to go to the Craycroft where they tell you everything's okay. And I started walking, I started breathing on my own, and I was fine. And they came into the room and told my parents that my cancer came back. My cancer came back again, and I had to start all my treatments and everything over. So I was just like, this time I was just like, okay, I'm ready for it because God is in my heart, and I know He kept me through this to go something big in my life. And every time I'm in the hospital bed, I getting chemo, getting weak, not being able to sleep at night. I just thank God for letting me have cancer. Because if I wasn't having cancer, I wouldn't have changed all these people's lives to get closer to God, to see that God is such a great person, and He's the one that's going to get us through everything, because if I wasn't able to handle this, He would have not put it in my path. But He said, Marlene, I know you're strong enough to do this, and I know you're strong enough to change everybody's lives, and you're going to have cancer, and you're going to change lives for me. From this day on, you're going to follow my path, and from that day on, I've been getting stronger and stronger to God, and what can I say? God's great.
Very good. Okay. So what are your plans for the future?
Become an RN nurse for kids with chemo.
Ain't that crazy how the Lord uses every single trial in our life that He can recycle it and use it for something good? You know, one of the things that Jay had told me, he goes, I want to be a nurse. He goes, because one of the things that as teenagers, you know, when we're frustrated is you don't know what I've been through. Yeah, you tell me to take that medicine or whatever, but you don't know what it's like to actually have cancer. And he says, I want to be able to be there and tell them, yeah, I do know. I know what it's like, you know, because I've been there. And Marlene has so many God stories in between, you know, from the balloon deflating to her waking up, and you know, to her even, when I went to go interview her, the video that's going to be on the documentary, I went to go interview her. It had only been like, what, 2-3 weeks after she had gotten out of the hospital from her coma. And this girl was like, how can it not be the Lord? You know, one of the things that frustrates me is when we don't have faith, she says, because hasn't God proven himself already that he has me, that he's going to do big stuff with me? And I was sitting here going like, is this the same girl that was in a coma just, you know, a few weeks ago? Because she was talking as if, you know, as if she's never been through anything. She's just been happy-go-lucky, always been walking with the Lord, and her life has always been cake, you know, and it hasn't, but just seeing how she says, and one of the things that she says in the documentary, she says, honestly, I see my cancer as a blessing. She says, because I would have never been able to reach the amount of people that I can reach for the Lord if I didn't have cancer. She said, and then I asked her, what is it you want to be known for? What was your answer?
I don't want to be known as the girl who had cancer and who just had to be in the hospital 24/7. The girl who doesn't have hair. As right now I'm wearing a wig, but as the girl who could change people's lives, and to God just being known as the person who got me closer to God, who got me into going to church, who got me into opening my Bible just once or praying to the Lord. Just a girl who is known that changed my life forever.
The faith of a 14-year-old. That being said, what more can you ask for as parents, right? What more can you ask for? It's a blessing, you know. Our kids can die at 50 and we're still 60, 80, and we're still thinking, man, as long as they have the Lord, you know, that's all that matters, is that they have the Lord and that they know that they're loved. And 14 years old, and she already got it down, like most of us are still searching. But thank you. Give her a 10. We got one. Okay. Composure. Okay. Now we get to go to the part where we get to share our story as Princess Nitty's team, because Princess Nitty's team, I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with it, but there's a reason why it's named after Serenity Casillas. And I know a lot of you guys have heard of her before, a lot of you guys have heard of the team before, and a lot of you guys know her parents. But there's a reason why we do what we do, and there's a story behind it. You see, every kid here represents a life. It's not just a kid with cancer, it's a kid who's gone through something, whose family has gone through something as a parent. You know, there's a phrase with Relay, at Relay for Life, and it's why we relay. And they'll ask you, you know, even in marketing, the why is the big question. Why do you do what you do? You can't sell a product, you can't be involved with something if you have no passion behind it. What's your why? You know, and I love that Relay for Life does that, and they say, what's your why? Serenity is the reason why we relay as a team, to honor her. I relay because I'm a mom. I'm a mom, and my kid could be Marlene. My kid could be Trinity. You know, and I'm a mom. So for me, if it were my child, I would want somebody to care. My kid gets a limp. She was limping the other day, and I'm over here falling apart as a mom over a limp because she stubbed her toe. You know, and as a mom, that's what I relate. So Valerie's story really touches me. But my daughter's 5, my littlest one. We're going to show a video that Pastor Josh did for our ministry. And after that, Valerie's going to come up because she has a dance that she did dedicating it to her daughter. And she did this at the funeral, I believe, at the memorial service, and she's going to do it again here for you guys. So be blessed through the dance, because this is representing the reason why we relate.